Hey, how you doing, folks? And welcome to the final BNBF straight from the table. In this case, it's straight from the dinner table. I'm David Kay. I was a host for this evening's show. I'm here with head judge Vicky McCann, and we're going to talk you through how it all went down. The season's finished. The athletes are partying. We just finished up our meal at Pan Am Restaurant, and we're now going to give you obviously a rundown of the day's events. Our overall champion, we have a new pro, and it was our heavyweight Adrian Simpson who took the win. Congratulations to you, Adrian. We know it meant a lot to you. You took that sword, you took that title, you came here to win, and you got it. Well done to you. Vicky, just a quick note on that overall. It's a Britain overall, it's tight, there's a lot at stake. How did it go down?
Adrian was quite a clear winner on the sheets. It was a clear winner. I think the middleweight Opio gave him a bit of a tough time. Slightly harder, just not quite with the size. So, although he won it convincingly, I think it would have been a tough decision for some of the judges, because I think you couldn't have not looked at Opio. But it was a two-man race in that overall, without a shadow of a doubt. But an incredible lineup of winners at the end of the show. Phenomenal.
Yeah. So, of course, as well as the overall winner, we did have our best wheels winner in the overall, and that went to our novice, Dan Sutcliffe. And it was nice to see kind of one of the novice guys beat some of the more seasoned competitors to the best wheels. And what a chunky set of wheels he had.
Oh, huge legs and calves as well, like top to toe big legs, not just like quads or hams. He really was complete. So I think that probably nudged it for him as far as winning the best wheels. And as you say, it was kind of nice for it to go to somebody that wasn't going to win the overall or something like that. So yeah, no, really, really nice.
Phenomenal. And just generally, guys, the standard of the whole show at the Britain was absolutely superb. The classes were stacked. Rammed to the hills with talent, and it was a real headache for a lot of the judges. And Vic, you had to do the tabulate, and that can't have been easy. I bet you've got a bit of a sore head now.
Yeah, it was a bit of an arithmetic test for the day. Every class, as you say, was stacked. It's always hard when you have people that place fifth in a class, and you're kind of saying to them, you could have won it, but fifth seems so far away. But in this instance, you really were talking about the top five. Any one of them could have won. I mean, and that was throughout the show. I mean, really was throughout the show. There was a high standard. I mean, we started with the Masters over 40 class, and there was 1 point between first and second. I mean, Clifton Moraes, yep. You can pronounce it better than me. Clifton Moraes,
who did incidentally go on to take the Masters Pro card, which we'll discuss briefly later. He did take the win.
But Steve Morris, I thought, had improved vastly from his qualifier, and as I say, 1 point in it. I mean, that's hard to take at a British final, yeah. And it might have been Steve that had been the pro today for the sake of 1 point. I mean, that was really tough. Third was Michael Boyle, and Michael Boyle had excelled as well. He came in full, he came in hard. Hats off to him for his improvements as well. Howard Pearson, a big chunk of a man. Could have been a little bit harder, but we've always said that. But I think this season he has improved, and he has looked harder throughout the season.
Howard's produced several outings this year, and each one of them has been among the best I've ever seen from him. So it's been a great season in general for Howard. Just quickly then, for the viewers out there, they'll probably want to know, it was tight between Clifton and Steve. What edged it in the end?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I mean, it was, as I say, 1 point. I mean, I actually loved what Steve brought to the table this time. I liked the chunky quads, I liked the heaviness in the arms, I liked the granite look. But there was no taking away from Clifton's classy lines. I mean, beautiful structure, beautiful flowing physique. It was apples and oranges, or apples and pears.
There we go, thank you. This is how we roll at the BNBF Britain. Ice cream espresso, thanks, Leon.
Unrivaled service.
Take
care.
Yeah, a bit of hilarity now the season's over. But yeah, no, I mean, to me, it was apples and oranges, and it just was the way the numbers fell. I mean, you couldn't really criticise either of them. They were just so completely different.
Yeah, and this is the thing, as we say, at the Britain level, sometimes it's a shame that someone has to lose, but ultimately they have to be placed at one point. Just quickly, and Chris Chapman rounded off the top five. Good result for Chris. I'm sure he'll be pleased with that, taking fifth place at Britain.
He's getting better every time as well, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, the next class then was our Masters over 50. Now, we've commented a few times that throughout the season, our Masters over 50s have been one of the highlights of the show. And this was no different. This was absolutely rammed. It was a tough class. There was a lot of guys in here for the hunt. We went with Gary Arbin coming through to take the win from John Maduri in second, Ifan Evans in 3, John Bellis in 4th, with Keith Hale in 5. Vic, I mean, I presume that some of these scores were coming in, the places were kind of like jotted about a little bit. How did it go down?
Yeah, again, it was, there was people going, judges were having differences of opinions. I mean, Gary didn't have the classic lines of John, but he was very, very hard and muscular and chunky, as was Ifan Evans in 3rd, which is kind of weird. They were similar, but yet John kind of split them with his classy looks, his classic posing. But yeah, not a lot of points between them again, especially sort of John and Ifan were quite close on points as well. And John Bellis, again, is another heavily muscled over 50. And Keith Hale had really good condition. He wasn't quite as heavily muscled, but he brought the condition today. So, a great top 5 again, that nobody can take anything away from these guys. And on a different day, it could go a different way.
And what was nice, it was a case of kind of all the guys were actually, they were on. They brought a really good package, and I do recall after, I think it was the central qualifier, you commented on the Masters over 50s, in which a lot of the competitors were in today. You said you felt they'd over dieted a little bit, they were a bit flat. I think they got that right today. I think they were actually carrying a lot more fullness coming in. They brought their best for the big show.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. They were full and they were hard. John had sort of gone a little bit backwards. He brought it back today. Gary was full and hard. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody nailed it.
Yeah.
They nailed
Phenomenal.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on then, we stick with the Masters. We went to our Masters over 60s. Now, the kind of Peter Pans of the bodybuilding world, our Masters. This was taken by Denton Wilson. Great to see Denton back and in winning ways. He took the class from past champion Dave Driscoll in 2nd, Anwar Gaith in 3, Colin Bennett in 4, and Athol Beacon rounding off the 5. In fact, great to see Denton back. He's been through his hardships himself. Great to see him back and great to see him winning.
I really thought that he brought a great package. A year or so ago, I think he was struggling a little bit, but he had been ill. And you sometimes wonder when people are ill and they're a bit older whether they'll manage to bring it back. But he absolutely nailed it. Condition, fullness, skin tone for a man in his 60s is incredible. Absolutely brilliant to see Denton, and an absolute entertainer as always. His routines are sensational, and always a joy to have in any show. But no taking away from Dave Driscoll, who's a big man.
Yeah. Seasoned competitor. He brings a lot of muscle in, great condition for an over 60. And he wouldn't have given up the title lightly. So it's a testament to the kind of quality physique Denton must have brought in.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, it was close. 2 points split them. So there was differences in opinion in that one. Not all the judges went one way or another. And then 3rd was Anwar Gaith, who... Again, another Peter Pan. I mean, he's over 60s, he looks 40. Yeah.
Phenomenal skin tone, really kind of tight looking, crisp condition. These guys are turning back Father Time, and it was a phenomenal class.
Yeah. Colin Bennett, again, chunky guy. Just
great condition, I thought. I can't criticise these guys too much. They're bringing the goods to the show, and these classes are becoming, a real stomping ground in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not like watching Masters that are any lesser to watch than the other classes.
Yeah, you don't judge on kind of faults, you're judging on their merits, which is great to see. Yeah. Okay, our over 70s then. I did comment on this as being one of the highlights of the show for me, and it absolutely did not disappoint this time. I love to see these guys on stage. They bring the house down, and they're an inspiration to us all. This was won by David Bryce. Perhaps not a favourite for the class coming in, but he produced the goods. He took the win from Jeff Harding, and 3rd was past champion John Morgan-Jones, who took it from one of our BNBF stalwarts, Eric Dowie, in 4th, and Michael Harrington's rounding up the 5. So Vic, you had centre stage. How did our old timers do it?
It was a tough call again. I mean, it was very, very mixed scorings in the top 4 placings. Eric Dowie scored very, very close to John Morgan-Jones, who wasn't far behind Jeff Harding. I think David Bryce had the edge a little bit. He always seems to get better condition, especially in the legs, than the other guys. That's what sort of brings him through as the winner. But I actually really like Jeff Harding. I think he's quite complete in his muscularity, and I felt that if he'd won the class, I wouldn't have been disappointed. I thought he was really good. John Morgan-Jones, I thought, wasn't in the condition I've seen him in before. He could have been harder. I've seen him harder. And Eric, well, he's in his 80s and just an inspiration to us all.
Yep, Eric, 82, and still, still competing with enthusiasm and purpose. So it's great to see. As I say, an inspiration to many, and certainly an inspiration to myself. I love it when these guys rock the stage. I really do. Fantastic.
And they're great. I mean, the routines are good. You can see they've worked hard to put it together. They're not just turning up and doing it. They really do put in an effort. So well done, and thank you for you all being part of the BNBF, because we find you inspirational. So thanks, guys.
Great job. So we did then move on to our Masters. Overall, we had, of course, our over 40s, and over 50s, over 60s, and over 70s take to the stage. One champ would be revealed as our new Masters Pro, and that was Clifton Moraes, who was our over 40. Just very quickly, and Vic, perhaps can we call it the youthful plumpness of the over 40s physique just had a bit too much?
He did. He had a bit too much. I mean, he's beautifully put together. I mean, his abs, pecs, tiny wee waist, incredible. I think, and either if him or Steve had won the Masters, either one of them was going to win the overall in this one.
Agreed. And a great representative of our Masters class.
Yeah.
So we then moved on quickly to one of our new additions on our BNBF calendar. We brought this as a new addition to the BNBF Finals, and that was our Ultimate Athlete. Now, of course, we judged this in 3 rounds. In fact, we judged a strength round and an endurance round, which took place at the dedicated fitness gym in Liverpool on the Saturday. And then the final round, they joined the BNBF team on stage on Sunday. Vic, talk us through that. First time out, but I think this is going to be a really popular event, and it was hotly contested for the first time out.
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant, and it was kind of nice that we had small numbers, because when something's new, you have hiccups and you have learning things, and we have to learn. Have we picked the right body weight percentages for strength? Have we got the circuit right to challenge? But I think, it was brilliant to watch. Real effort. I mean, watching these guys in the strength, failing to get as many reps as they possibly could was incredible. The girls were unbelievable at cheering each other on. I mean, it really was fantastic. I think Vicky Marcita and the women took both the strength and the endurance. So she ended up, she was going to be the winner on the day anyway. The guys were like chalk and cheese. I mean, Nathan was a CrossFitter that jumped in, never been on stage before, so it was a bit new to him, whereas Charlie's a seasoned bodybuilder, won competitions, a bit chunkier, and again, they went into the evening on a draw, because Charlie won the strength and Nathan won the endurance, so, they went in with a battle tonight, and Charlie came out on top, and I think he really was a good example of an ultimate athlete.
Absolutely, and you know what, I think it's a great title to have, the Ultimate Athlete. I think, it'll pull on a few egos, certainly. I mean, I looked at it, I'm not competing this year, Vicky, I'll be honest. If it wasn't for my back, if it wasn't for my injuries, guys, it's certainly something I would fancy my chances at. And guys, if you're out there in the gym, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. If you're interested in the BNBF Ultimate Athlete, get involved, check it out next year. It's going to be an absolute showstopper, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think we need a sick bucket for you to do it, Dave.
Probably, you know what I'm like. Okay, we then moved on to the first of our ladies' classes. This is our Masters figure, and it did produce our overall figure champion in Jo Griffiths, the winner. A great example. She took it from Lindsay Davies in 2, Michelle Moult in 3, Corey Keith in 4, and Claudia Brown in 5. Having watched it, at the Britain when all the top athletes come together, I thought this was a pretty competitive class, and it was great.
Yeah, it was a strong class. I mean, Jo stood out. I mean, she stood out from our qualifier. Yeah. We noticed her there, and I think that was only her second time on stage. So she's really nailed it very, very early. But she has stood out. It was tougher between Lindsay during the day, but in the evening she came to life. I thought she was a little bit fuller, and in the evening she was a clear second, so I was really pleased for her. Michelle, lovely put together, really nice, tight glutes, small waist, so I thought she was good. Corey Keith was in incredible condition, and Claudia was very muscular, so a very, very different bunch of girls that made that top 5 up. But again, every one of them brought something really positive to the class. Yeah,
it was a great example of Masters figure, different shapes and sizes. I mean, Jo, I think, was a clear winner. If you take Jo out of the equation, we did have, from second through to fifth, very different looking physiques. the chips fall where they may, and this is how it came out. But all girls, you did yourself proud. It was a tough class, and you did well to place top 5. So great job. Should be proud of yourself. Vic, do you want to take the teens over? We had a winner, and quite a significant winner. And teens, I did make a joke on stage. I don't know what they're feeding the kids these days. Will Tashik Baum. Apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. A big boy, a big teen, and an incredible future. Why don't you talk us through the teen class?
As you say, William, I mean, a future star, I would think, in the making. Again, there's no guarantees because you still have to have the work ethic, the consistency and the dedication. But, you know, he's got everything there to start with. I mean, he's got the starting place right. But then no taking away from second place, Robert Brown. I mean,
condition for a teen, if I just put in, it was kind of apples and oranges. We say that a lot. You had Will in first, a credible amount of shape, a lot of actual heavy muscle for a teen, a little bit soft.
Yeah.
Yet you had a much harder, crisper Robert who had the muscle mass that you'd expect from a teen, but in comparison to Will was slightly light, but very different physiques. But full credit to Robert for bringing that sort of condition.
I thought Robert was incredible, and I thought what was nice about Robert as well is he really improved from his qualifier, which is always tough when you're young, to bring it again. And so I thought that was excellent. And again, Connell Mimna.
Yeah.
He was good as well. I mean, he came on from his Irish presentation a little bit more confident on stage, a bit more polished with his posing. So I thought that he brought it as well. So a nice teen class. The other two just need to really nail a bit better condition. They're young and it's fine, but as you progress up, guys, just a little bit more thought into your diet and your nutrition, and that'll make a big difference.
Yeah, and that was Carl Lingard in 4 and Dex Trevitz in 5. Good job battling up there. Okay, we moved back to the ladies and we moved on to our Miss Physique class. Now, Vic, I did comment on the day that I was really kind of heartened to see a big Miss Physique class again. We had 9 competitors. The class has kind of been, I wouldn't say on the slide, but it's been dwindling perhaps in numbers by the time we got to the Britain for a few years. This was a big class. It was a competitive class. It was taken by Sam Evans in the end. She took the win from Faye Brown-John. Christina Sava in 3. Zoe Nierek in 4 and Joe Barnett in 5. Now, Vic, I always do this year, no matter what table we're sitting at. It's your class. Why don't you talk us through how it went down in your eyes?
It was very, very close between Faye and Sam. I mean, it was right to the wire with them. And again, it was a 1 point difference that could have gone either way. And I don't think it would have necessarily been wrong had it gone the other way. So both were in really good condition. Both had good muscle tone. Again, I think it would just be personal choice on the day that would have made a difference between first and second. So both brought a really good package. To me, Christina Sava has probably got one of the best potentials in the class. Phenomenal back, tiny waist, huge arms, big legs, still hasn't nailed that condition. If she can bring that in, I really feel she would be a force. I really think she'd be one of the...
I agree with that. Just certainly she had one of the more extreme shapes, particularly from the back, her shoulder to waist ratio and her lat spread and whatnot was standout, to be honest. And like you say, just lacking that condition, and sometimes without that extra condition, you can't overlook that lack of condition. So the extreme shape just isn't quite enough to take her up.
Not when you had Sam and Faye who brought the whole package. They brought condition. They brought a bit of size. They were the full package. I mean, there was no real criticising. I mean, Sam could bring her legs up a little bit. Faye was a little bit soft in the glutes, but that's been picky and looking for things to say. They both brought a good package. Fourth was Zoe Niernick from Ireland. She probably had one of the best conditions in the class.
Legs in particular, really diced, separated quads. Great to see,
But she lacked a little bit of fullness just to take the top 3. And Joe Barnett, great upper body, a lot of size in areas. Just again a little bit soft. Sure. Glutes and hams need a little bit of work just to be the complete package and take on these girls that are slightly higher up than her.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that, Vicky. I think that's kind of a comprehensive view of how it went. I think, the idea of the complete package was certainly, indicative of this class. And Sam and Faye, they were top 2, and they did tick the boxes, didn't they? They ticked most of the boxes.
Yeah, and just to mention Nikki Rogers, she's got potential, and we say it every time, just to be harder. Eve Cook, I think Eve's like 55, and she's improving. At that age, she's still coming on. Lauren Jackson, she's got all to deliver, but condition-wise, she just wasn't quite there. And Sam Coyle, potential, but to me comes across as a bit raw and a bit young, almost in the class. She has a youthfulness that it just needs a bit more time to fill everything out. But all in all, a lovely class, and as you say, lovely to have so many Miss Physique competitors at the final.
Absolutely. Nope, that's great, Vic. Nice comprehensive review. So we moved back to the guys and we moved on to our junior class. Slightly smaller junior class compared to usual for the Britain, but nonetheless, packed with talent. We did have a winner in Dennis Mikov. He took the win, a new British junior champ. He took that from Chris McCready in second, Daniel Argent in third, Aidan Scanlon in four, and it was James Hilton who rounded off the five. Vic, I don't think it's a disservice to say that Dennis was the force in this class, and he took the win convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis is quite an anomaly because he's actually a teenager but wanted to do the juniors just because he wanted a bit more competition, and he actually wasn't being arrogant about that. He actually had won the teens quite convincingly last year. I think it was last year, or was it the year before?
I think it was 2016.
2 years ago. And he brings the package. He's rock hard. He's got good size, especially in the legs for someone so young. So absolutely, he nailed that this time. But Chris and Daniel in second and third, fabulous physiques, huge amount of muscle, but just don't seem to bring the condition. They always have a cloudiness, softness that I'd like to see them coming in hard.
To really kind of like do the physique justice. I mean, Chris, for his age, has a ton of muscle, and Daniel's shape's exquisite, really. Would like to see that in crisp condition to really just to do their physiques justice, to be honest. And it wasn't quite there today, and for that reason, Dennis couldn't really be touched.
And I think if they had condition, they'd give him a tougher time because both are phenomenal physiques. I don't know what they're doing, but they're just not bringing the condition to the competitions.
A quick note on Aidan and James.
I think both just need to be a bit. If I say a bit more, does it just mean a little bit more condition and a little bit more size to take those top three on?
Yeah, it's not an uncommon statement. Just a little bit more size, a little bit more condition. And can I make a quick note just on? I know I don't want to speak for everyone, but I know Dennis and Chris, just by glancing briefly of what I've seen on social media, they're big lifters. They lift big, they squat big, they do the compounds. They're hard trainers. So they're starting young and lifting big, and that you can't do any better than that, and that's the way to start, and that's what's going to take you far in bodybuilding.
Absolutely.
Okay, right, we moved on. Nice class for me. I like this one. The Pro Men, or DFC Pro Grand Prix. I sat it out this year, but I love it, and I love watching all my mates up there. Giving it their best shot and trying to get that Pro Grand Prix title. We had 6 pros in, and the pro title was taken by Mark Clarkson. So Mark's now 2-time Pro Grand Prix champ. He took the win from a very ecstatic Michael Perrin, the first time he's tread the boards in Britain as a pro. He took that from Davey Hanna, who's perhaps at the opposite end of the spectrum. Davey's tread the boards quite a few times, but first time for 5 years he's been back on stage, Davey Hanna, after 2 shoulder surgeries. He took third, fantastic result. Daz Cooper took fourth, and Rick Waters in fifth, with Gus Fisher rounding off the 6. Right, Vic, I did watch pre-judging. I was hosting it at night, so I didn't quite see how it unfolded. So talk us through it.
Mark, when he walked on, was so much heavier than the rest of the class. He stood out. He's a heavily muscled man, huge legs, heavily muscled glutes. He's not got the most taper, the biggest taper, but he's just so heavily muscled that he looked like he was edging it. As the day went on, Michael Perrin actually started to push him quite hard. Michael's actually got some really big body parts, and I think if you look beyond the actual size of the structure of the two of them, Michael's actually quite big, and I think that could change with a little bit of time. But Michael was absolutely tiny waist, broad shoulders, great condition. And I think Mark and him stood out as far as that was concerned. But Davey Hanna, what a phenomenal. I mean, as you say, 5 years out, 2 shoulder surgeries. A couple of years ago, he looked like the jockey he once was. So I don't know if any of us ever expected him to get back to being on stage at that sort of level.
Yeah, I mean, Davey Hanna only an idiot would ever count Davey Hanna out. But I mean, coming back from 2 shoulder surgeries, particularly, no disrespect, to Davey for me to say this, but particularly at his age, in the twilight of his career, that's quite a big deal to come from 2 shoulder surgeries. But no, Davey says otherwise, and there he was on stage delivering the goods.
And I think for him, he just wanted to make sure he didn't look out of place. He wasn't going in with any expectations. He just wanted to see that if he could still stand with these guys, and I think he more than stood with them. Absolutely incredible. And then Daz's legs are always incredible. His condition's always incredible. His weakness is always going to be his back. He still needs to bring his back up to sort of nail his higher places, especially when he's competing against the younger guys. But there's no taking away from his work ethic, his legs. You can see that he works hard. You see he brings the condition. And I mean, Rick Waters, again, absolutely shredded. And then the biggest man in the class, Gus Fisher, but just hasn't quite nailed it yet. But in 5 weeks in Miami, he could be a different animal. I mean, he changes so much over in a short period of time that I wouldn't be surprised if you see a totally different Gus again. So we'll see them all back in Miami, and again, it may go a different way. It may turn around. It'll be another interesting rematch for them all when they get out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's always great to see. I mean, they are friends, and it's difficult kind of judging your mates, but you do it objectively, and I think they all know that, and however it rolls out, they all had a great time. But yeah, I think today, Vic, the density, the rugged mass and maturity of Mark Clarkson just edges out the kind of, I wouldn't call it immaturity of Mike, but just the slightly the younger physique, albeit a flashier physique in certain poses, just not quite the heaviness there today. And it is time. It'll come.
I mean, Mike is young, but again, he's done powerlifting, he's done the heavy lifting, he's got the structure there.
Stuff, and you can see that there. Okay, fantastic. So then we moved on from our pros to our novice class. So from one extreme to the other, I tell you what, this novice class did not disappoint. As always, shapes and sizes all over the place, pros and cons of each physique. Real headache for the judges, but as you say, throw the cards up, chips fall as they may. In this instance, it was won by Dan Sutcliffe, who was shocked, absolutely shocked to win the class. And he, not only that, perhaps more shocked to win best wheels later on in the day. Dan took it from Chris Wilson in second, Jamie Sherrard in third, David Kasiak in 4, and Oren Duhane in 5. So Vic, talk us through that. I mean, obviously they were on stage for a long, long time, and it's never easy to judge.
There was a lot of comparisons to do because there was a lot of very similar physiques up there, and people that didn't make that top 5, like number 3 Matthew Owen, who I thought was very, very similar to some of the other, I think second and third, but just for some reason just didn't quite make that cut. But I think he probably would have been pushing it. Dan Sutcliffe was the clear winner from the off. Talk about getting everything right. His tan was right, his condition was right. Everything was right for him today. This was definitely his day.
Even his hair was right, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Wilson had improved a lot from the Scottish. He looked a lot bigger. He was very conditioned at the Scottish, but he had a bit more size this time as well as his condition. And him and Jamie aren't unlike. Jamie Sherrard from Ireland, they're quite similar physiques, so they were quite difficult to compare. David in fourth was a strange one because he actually, when he stood still and in the symmetry round, you didn't really notice him. When he hit poses, he was actually excellent. His condition was good. He hit some really classy, beautiful poses, skin tone, real crisp condition. So I thought he was excellent. And in fifth place, Oren, an absolute lump of a lad who should be pushing that class. I mean, he should be winning that class, to be honest. Just didn't quite nail the condition. But again, it's a novice class. There's a lot to learn for all of them, and a top 5 that thinking that they're going to go into the Misters in the next year or so again is going to lift that standard and bring another bunch of great Misters through.
Absolutely, 100%. And quite often if the novices exceed obviously 15 in number, we'll have to split the class. But this was like the old novice shootout that I used to enjoy. It's all different shapes and sizes, and you're all whacked in as one, and the cream rises to the top. Okay. Right then, back to the ladies' Miss Athletic class. Quite a big lineup. We had 11 athletes. Actually, we had 10 athletes. This was taken by Charlie Wright, who took the win from Gemma Wood, from Fiona Hamilton in 3, Louise Gillen in 4, Rebecca Bailey in 5. Okay, Vic, this was one class I didn't actually see a lot of at pre-judge. Why don't you talk about it?
I actually didn't judge this class, but obviously I watched it because I was doing the scores at night and stuff. And again, a lot of mixed opinions from the judges. All of the top 3 having first places on their cards. So, it wasn't like it was clear cut. Charlie, a lot of the judges commented on, is she too figure, is she too much figure? But you couldn't take away from the fact that she was muscular, she was conditioned, and her routine was incredible. So I think she deservingly got the win that she should get. And she actually could quite easily move into figure if she wanted to, or even possibly bodybuilding in the future, as she goes. Gemma always is always in condition. I mean, Gemma Wood brings condition. Another fabulous poser, beautiful to watch. She's had a couple of sore results in the last while where I felt she was placed a little bit.
Dice, if the dice is going to roll one way or the other, it almost always rolled the wrong way for Gemma. But in this, and today, it went. You'd say it went the right way, but I was actually impressed. That's the best Gemma Wood I've seen. I thought she was fuller than I've ever seen her before, and that's what she needed.
Yeah, she needed more fullness, so I was pleased to see that. And Fiona was the same. Fiona has always had condition. She doesn't have the best structure, but she's always well conditioned. But she can look a little bit scrawny at times, so it was good to see her come in with muscle. Her fabulous legs, great hamstrings, and I think it was nice to see her getting a good place in because she's got a lot going on, and she's worked hard for this one, which was great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had Louise Gillen in 4, Rebecca Bailey in 5. Just a quick note, nice condition from these ladies.
Both of them were in great condition. Louise had probably slightly better shape than Rebecca, although both were in very, very good condition. Rebecca's more experienced, so it was probably nice for Louise to beat the more experienced competitor. Louise's routine was sensational. I mean, she brought, for a newbie, as it were, to come in and perform that routine at the British Finals, I thought she did really, really well. So, again, another fabulous top 5 that, arguably in a different day could have placed in a different order, because none of them were bad examples of the class, all very, very good. So strong top 5 in the Miss Athletic.
And like you say, Vic, that is the nature of the beast when it comes to the Britain, that it's one day, you get one shot, and if you're on, you're on. If you just miss it, you're going to tumble, you're going to miss out. And also, just a quick note, I say this after every qualifier, Miss Athletic, your routines were absolutely superb. I don't know what it is about the Miss Athletic ladies.
I mean, Teresa.
Yeah. Teresa Slezova, I think it is.
Phenomenal routine. Absolutely.
I mean, these girls put a lot of work into it.
Performed with great poise. I mean, but none of them had bad routines. They all did really, really well.
No. Okay, so we moved back to our men's classes. This was our men's weight class. We started with a lightweight class. I did have the pleasure of judging these weight classes, and they were absolute rippers. It's the only way to describe it. Each and every one of the men's weight classes was a hell of a battle, and these guys brought it. A lightweight, we had a champion in James Melville, who was absolutely phenomenal. If you can nail it on a day, he certainly did that. He took the win from Damien Blackwood in 2nd, from Chris Paling in 3, Martin Lamont in 4, Chris Edge in 5. Phenomenal top 5, and beyond that, Vic, there's a lot of great bodybuilders who were unplaced today, and I'll say that for most of the men's weight classes. There'll be a lot of kind of bodybuilders going away thinking they're not going away with any silverware, but the physiques they brought were tremendous, and it was a not only a headache, it was a privilege to judge.
I would totally agree. I mean, my comment when they all walked on stage was help. I mean, it's like they were so good. I mean, every single competitor in that lightweight class was of a standard and could be a winner. I mean, there wasn't anybody that couldn't have been a winner. I mean, James Melville really nailed it. I mean, he has improved every single outing. He takes whatever criticism, whatever feedback he gets, and he works on it. He changes and he comes back. And that for a judge is a pleasure, because it's not just somebody that comes back every time looking the same. There's somebody that takes your advice and does something with it. Damien Blackwood was the same. Damien's posing was really bad at the last show, and a million times better this time. A million times better. Chris Paling, condition was ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous condition. Chris's only problem is he's just a little bit narrow structure-wise, so he can end up getting outdone by sort of slightly wider shapes, but you can't knock the guy for the condition he turns up as outrageous. And Martin Lamont, his legs are just absolutely incredible, and he's another one who's gone away and improved, because we've always said you need to bring your top half up, and he did this time. He really brought
he's
more.
Probably got some of, if not the best casts I've seen in bodybuilding for a long time. So it's tough to bring the upper body up to match these freaky things he's inherited. But he's trying and he's doing well, and he was credited with a 4th place today.
Yeah, I mean, he really was playing. I mean, he placed high in the muscularity round because he was a chunk of a lad. And then Chris Edge, beautiful shape, just not quite enough for the top 4, but not really an issue. Nicely put together, well structured, and his improvements this year have been vast. So I look to see him coming on even more so in the future.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly, I can only agree with what you said there, Vic. Just to add to it, I mean, just kind of quick fire away. I thought, like I said, James Melville ticked all the boxes, nailed it in every respect. Damien Blackwood, great improvement. Damien's condition's always fantastic, but his ability to pose today and show off his shape, which he lacked before, was there, and that really helped him out. Chris Palin, like we say, frightening condition. I'm not an easy man to impress condition-wise, but quite a few of the guys in today's show impressed me condition-wise, and Chris was one of them. You know, skinless is not a phrase I use often, but the guy was peeled. Martin, you know, like you say, fantastic presentation, great tan, these things help, you know, and kind of brought his best to the show. And like you say with Chris, I spoke to Chris after the show, and I kind of think that for him, he should look at his season as a whole, and it's been an incredible season for him, very successful, and it's all there. It's just time, and he'll regroup again and go again and improve as the season goes on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The middleweight class was next up, and you judged it, so I'll let you give the feedback. But it was won by Opio Tia Okwe, and second place was Tom Poyner, then Alex Mackay, followed by Stephen Donaghy and Jake Steele. Now, this is a class that I anticipated being a monster. I mean, we have 2, if not 3 overall winners in that lineup, and Tom Poyner, Duncan McDougall, and James Poyner. So we've got 3 overall winners there before you even start with what's going on. So it was an absolute nightmare, and again, a class where every single competitor was of a standard. You can give me the feedback this time because you were the one that judged and I never.
Yeah, when I'll run it down then, kind of as I saw it, kind of how the character of the class unfolded. Opio Tia Okwe, so Opio won this class, and I wouldn't say he flew under the radar. He's always been a guy we knew had potential, but when he turned up today, there was a kind of sense of, wow, where's this guy come from?
The judges commented,
crisp, clean condition that we hadn't seen from him before, combined with a beautiful fullness. Now, Opio's blessed one of those structures that when he stands front on and hits a front lat, you're just like, well, that's the thing of beauty, you know. It's right, and it looks great, and that's what Opio had over some of the other competitors. He just had it on the day, and because he'd nailed his condition and the fullness was there, he was always the front runner for this. Tom in second brought brutal condition, what I can only describe as savage, much like Chris Paling and James in the lightweights. Very heavily muscled in the legs, you know, not quite got the symmetry of your Opios and perhaps even your Alec in 3, but his muscularity was such that he scored very highly in the muscularity round, and he delivered an incredible routine to showcase his strengths at night, and that pushed Tom into the second place, just ahead of Alec Mackay in 3. Now, Alec is another gentleman, similar to Opio in the sense that they're blessed with a kind of beautiful flaring structure. Alec ticked a lot of boxes today. I thought his conditioning was phenomenal. I thought his stage presence was excellent. What he lacked over the other 2 guys was just a bit of roundness and density, in my opinion. Comparison to, for example, Opio in first, he just didn't quite have the kind of roundness and thickness that he's going to require. But he's quite a young chap, and he's going to obviously build on that. Moving on, though, in fourth, now Stephen was almost the opposite. Stephen was one of the chunkier physiques, probably one of the best side poses in the whole class. His side chest was so thick and round and dense that you were like, well, this guy's right up at the top. But perhaps front on or perhaps from the back, not quite the exquisite shape of Opio or Alec, yet his condition was bang on as well, so you had to factor him in, and it was becoming a real mash-up for the judges to try and work out where this was going to be, and I suspect the scores were a bit kind of varied when they came in. Jake Steele, now Jake was actually a guy who rounded off the 5, and he kind of just nicely ticked a lot of things. His conditioning was good, his shape was nice, his muscularity was nice, he was very balanced. just not quite as hard as, for example, a Tom, or not quite as extreme in the shape as Opio.
Yeah.
So he wasn't quite able to challenge those top guys. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how it kind of ran down in my eyes. But I'll stop talking now.
It was. I mean, you could talk about that class all day, because your top 4 and 5 as well, Jake Steele, they were exquisite. I mean, every one of them had so much to offer, and on a different day would have been a winner. And that's what makes, as I say, you've got Duncan McDougall and James Pointer, who didn't place and have both been overall champions, and that showed the level that this top 4 brought today. I mean, they raised their game, brought it, nailed it, and did it. And it was just a shame that you have to have a first to fourth, because all were different.
And even commenting on gentlemen like Lukas Suzik, who didn't place, that's the best I've seen him all year. He turned up in shape, but the standard of the class was such that not everyone can place.
It was a stupid standard. It was just ridiculous. But well done, guys, and thanks for bringing such an impressive package, because it was a privilege to judge that or to see it. I didn't judge it this time, but to watch it was an absolute privilege.
Okay, now the big boys are heavyweight class, and this was a true heavyweight slugfest. I described it. These were big boys, massive heavyweights. You know, they all brought it today, and we were treated to a real kind of heavyweight bout, a clash of the titans. The class was won by Adrian Simpson, who did go on to take her overall. He took that from Jerry Okoye in 2, Ali Stewart in 3, Solomon Onola in 4, and Darren Ogbubar in 5. Vic, I'll go straight to you. This was one of those classes where we've all judged for a long time, we're very experienced, and we just looked at each other and we're like, they need to go round again, because I cannot make up my mind.
I mean, I actually didn't judge it, but I mean, I do have the best seat in the house for even just watching it. Adrian Simpson was just the most complete today. He ticked every box. But it must have been close between him and Jerry, because Jerry is, again, beautifully put together, heavily muscled, tiny waist, flaring quads, great shoulder width. Those two guys were just exceptional. Then you're in 3rd place, Ali Stewart, who I would say is probably the best Ali Stewart I've seen, without a shadow of a doubt. And from the front, I would have actually said he looked the winner. I mean, I just said, if you saw them stand in front on Ali, looked like he should have won the class. Unfortunately, Ali's rear doesn't match his front. So when he turns to the back against these big lads, he's losing the heaviness to the back, the thickness in the back. And that's what costs him just nailing that top spot. But no taking anything away. When he stood to the front, he looked the winner. I mean, that's the absolute truth of it.
I mean, like I say, Ali's competed for a long time. He's competed at a high level. So for us to say that's the best I've ever seen you, Ali, what more can you do? You know, that's a real kind of, testament to how you brought it today.
Yeah, I think it's just he has to look at himself from the back. If he can match his rear poses to his front poses,
if you can get the heaviness he carries in the quads and kind of like the pecs, if you can get that in his back, then he's really going to be.
He would be unbeatable if he could do that. I mean, realistically, if he could match his front to back, he'd be, or his back to the front, he'd be unbeatable. Solomon, again, it's nip and tuck with these guys, because to me he had a beautiful structure, again, like Jerry, tiny waist, broad shoulders, quad. Yeah. So, and Darren Ogbubar, these names, especially at this time of night, again, was so nicely put together. He needs to be a little bit harder, to be fair, but, he was incredible. And I mean, I could go through the whole class. Adam Bryden, I thought, did a brilliant job. He brought in condition, he brought in size. Just unlucky not to be, to be in the top 5. Andy Halliday was so much better than he was at the Scottish. Andre
was much better than I've seen him at the qualifier, and in another show perhaps he would have cracked the 5, but there was just full cannons loaded today, and. Hey.
And Thomas Wilkie, number 8, again, much improved since last year. He keeps continuing to improve. He's got a huge amount of muscle. He just needs to keep bringing it in, keep getting tighter, and he'll be up there competing with the rest and competitive, but just a little bit more time into that physique.
He's a young guy, and a lot of these guys are seasoned competitors, and that's tough to go up against.
And then you've got Toby. I mean, Toby didn't place. Toby had probably the biggest arms on stage.
Biggest arms and biggest specs.
But the thing with Toby is, and I've said it before, it's not as... I'm judging without knowing him, but it's like it's not as important. He has a bit of fun, he does it, his posing's not quite good enough, his condition's not quite good enough. If he could actually bring it and actually put a serious year, come in condition and pose a bit better, I think he'd be a serious threat. You know, I really think that he would be up there. And then, unfortunately, with Theo, I don't know what happened with Theo today. I mean, he came in during the day and he looked. I can't say he looked terrible because nobody looked terrible, but he didn't look the Theo of we know.
He didn't look like the vibrant, alive kind of Theo that was ready to rumble, ready to attack the stage, and better at night. He looked better at night.
He did look better at night,
but he was just too slow out the gate, and he couldn't make up that sort of ground.
No, he wasn't himself today. He didn't. He's a little bit watery, a little bit smaller than I've seen him. And it was. I mean, that was somebody going into it we thought would be pushing for a top spot, and just something didn't happen for him today, unfortunately. But Theo, you know what to do, and you'll come back, and you know what you've got going on there.
Yeah, just a very, very quick note. I did judge it, in my opinion, what cracked the top two. We said Adrian did tick all the boxes. Adrian's got a lovely balance physique, he's got plenty of muscle, but his condition top to toe, front to back was what won it today. And Jerry in second, possibly from the front, was the winner.
Bit softer from the back.
But from the back there was a discrepancy and he was softer. Front on, his quads were diced up, his waist tiny, his arms are huge. Phenomenal routine. His routine was phenomenal.
Yeah.
For his body type.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful, it was just powerful.
But there was a lot of beautiful routines in that class.
And like you say, it was just that element of condition from the back, Jerry. Adrian nipped you on that, and that was a deciding factor.
I must admit, watching so many such big guys pose so well and so almost elegantly for, you wouldn't have expected these guys to come on and pose so elegantly. It was quite exquisite to watch. It was an art form in itself, to be honest.
It was, and it was an absolute pleasure. So we moved on then to our final class of the day before our overall. This was our Miss Figure class, and this was a big class. We had 15 in, and apologies to the ladies if you always have to wait to the end to do your class, but nonetheless we were treated to a great show. This was taken by Vicky Bradley. Now Vicky has won a Britain before way back in 2010. We haven't seen her since, and she's come back to winning ways. She took this class, big class from Roberta. I'm not going to pronounce your surname Roberta because you always tell me I could just call you Roberta, so I will. You were in second from Zoe Salt, in 3 Sarah Ford, and 4 Carly Malcolmson, rounding up the 5. I didn't judge this one, Vic. I was back up hosting, so why don't you kick us through it?
It really was a tough class again. I mean, there was so many good girls, but the girls that maybe weren't 100% right for the class, if that makes any sense. I mean, Vicky was a good winner, but realistically needs to be a little bit harder. I mean, I've spoken to Vicky and I've actually said this to Bart. She's kind of like me in that she's short, and you can't have your condition has to be nailed on when you're short, otherwise you can look slightly dumpy.
And she does, she does carry quite a lot of muscle on her legs as well. So unless they're in, it can
look a little bit dumpy. But on saying that, she still had enough to win the class. I mean, she's so nicely put together, shoulder width, heaviness to the back, that she had enough to win it. But I'd still like to see her getting back to what she was in 210 condition-wise, because I think that was slightly better. Roberta, I think this year's brought the best package she's brought. I mean, a nice balance of condition. Her stage presence is good, tiny waist, so everything's there, and she did really, really well. Zoe and Sarah in 3rd and 4th, I think, are kind of similar. They weren't dissimilar. Zoe just had a little bit more width than Sarah, and I've actually spoken to Sarah tonight. She was asking for some feedback, and Sarah, she comes in, her skin tone's beautiful, her presentation's beautiful, her condition's where it should be for figure, and she'll always do well at qualifier level, but figure's a difficult class because natural width plays such a big part, and she doesn't have that. And I mean, I spoke to her tonight and said, why don't you take on the challenge of trying to move into the athletic, where that condition that she's got and that stage presence would actually set her up really well. So for her, I think she's good, she's really good, but she'll always be like a 3rd or at Britain level. So she's good. Carly Malcolmson, I thought she was actually better at the Scottish. I thought she was slightly smaller without being any leaner than she was in this outing. Still had enough to take that 5th place, just because she presents herself well, she walks well. But realistically, diet-wise, I think she needs to look at what she's doing, because she shouldn't be getting smaller but not being any harder coming into a show. So a little bit work on that actual side of things, Carly. You've got enough size, enough shoulder width to make a difference, but just needs to do that.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. Like I say, I think Vicky was the class of the class, if you will. She took it. Roberta, best I've seen her. Zoe, like you say, Zoe and say a similar. Zoe, like a very natural figure.
Yeah.
And creates lovely shapes. Some of her side poses, just she very naturally eases into her side poses and they are eye-catching, so she's always going to fare well. Sarah, you've commented on Sarah already, and Carly. Kate, to talk about any of the other athletes, well, I did have 15, and we can only place 5. 10 girls are going to be disappointed, but it's a bit
it was hard. I mean, number 4, I really liked, I can't pronounce her name, Zanana, sorry, number 4, I think it's Zanana. But nice amount of muscle, and I actually thought that she could have placed higher. I thought she was really, really nice to look at. Chloe Chisholm, Chloe's a strange one because her side poses she looks incredible.
Phenomenal, yeah.
But front on she was just too heavy, and I think if she could come in harder, her posing's really good and she looks great from the side. Katie Smithers, she came in again better than she's been and keeps improving. Adele always seems to bring it. It's just that when you're moving up a level, it's just a little bit tougher. Jenny and Bethany, you can't really fault either of them. I mean, they both came in, did a good job. They just need to give a little bit more. And whether it's they need more muscle tone to get more shape, could be the answer. And Rosie, sorry, I missed Rosie number 1. Now, Rosie's a hard one because Rosie brings condition. I mean, there's no doubt she was the hardest in the class, but I actually felt it was detrimental, and she was actually looking skinny today. I'd like to see Rosie with a few pounds on to try and give her more curves. You know, it's a curvy class. You need to not be coming in looking skinny.
Her condition, no doubt about it, her condition was very, very hard. But like you say, figure, obviously, the balance, the extra fullness I think Rosie would have for having a good few pounds on her physique adds to her shape, and I felt her shape got stifled a little bit today because of that condition. I would just like her to be a little bit, like you say, a little bit full, a little bit heavier, and let her physique breathe a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of the judges weren't very sure how to place her because they just felt like she was too thin. I mean, that sounds terrible, and I'm sorry, Rosie, you've got a beautiful, beautiful shape. You're neat in the glutes, you've got a tiny waist, you've got a broad back, but being that lean isn't going to do you any favours at this level.
No, I think that's fair. And I mean, like I say, looking down the list, we've got girls like Jenny Cockrell, who was a qualifier winner, and there's good athletes unplaced, and that's the Britain,
Well, as you say, that is the Britain.
Yeah, okay. And we then finished off with our overall figure.
Yeah.
This was won, as I said, by Jo Griffiths. It was Jo Griffiths and Vicky Bradley kind of going head to head, and Jo took that, and she was a standout all day, I think, in the figure class.
Her condition was too much for any of the girls, but condition without detriment to muscle mass or shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we did finish with the overall, and we kind of discussed the overall at the start, and it was obviously Adrian Simpson took it, just the heavyweight, the big dog, if you will. He took the win probably from Opio, our middleweight winner here. It was exquisite in certain poses, but perhaps what sealed it for me, I think, was just the density and the hamstrings and things that Adrian had over Opio was probably what turned it.
I mean, it was incredible. It's always nice to see a lineup at a British final because they've all worked hard, they've all got there, and these guys have risen to the top of a very, very tough pool of bodybuilders. So, again, some of these guys will be now getting ready to go out to Miami for the DFAC World Finals on the 10th of November. Others will just be going and finding as much food as they can and get rid of that great condition that they've had for the last 6 months, probably. But thank you for tuning in, and thanks to everyone that supported us. We've had Optimal Nutrition have been a massive sponsor for us throughout the year. And we had the Natural Muscle Company who've given both our overall athletes an annual contract for a sponsorship deal, which is phenomenal. Unrivaled came on board, bought t-shirts for everybody, and have really got behind the BNBF as well.
Absolutely.
We can't do without our sponsors, and we can't do without the people that come and watch us, and we can't do without our athletes. So another BNBF season finished, and thanks to everyone who's had input in one way or another, and we'll see you next year.
We will indeed, just a final note. Thanks for tuning in to Straight From The Table. We put out the effort for you guys. I know you guys enjoy it, and it's a pleasure from us to do so. As I say, Vic, at the end of every season, some are going to Miami, for some it's the end of the road. But many miles and many smiles from the BNBF team. So from us to you, thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Good night.